Donovan Mitchell has been traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Does this move impact the Detroit Pistons in any way? We'll talk about that in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support the podcast. Or if you want to find another way to support the podcast on any podcast platform you listen to this on, leave us a 5-star review. That's another great way. I'd really support it. Like I told you guys on the last episode and the previous episode after that, I'm going to be notifying you guys every episode, continuing to let you guys know that at the end of this month, beginning of October, I will not be here. It will be scheduled ahead episodes because I am getting married down in Jamaica. So just going to make sure I keep telling you guys this. You guys are prepared for the scheduled ahead episodes. They probably won't make as much sense with the time. I won't be having updates with the preseason games. I won't be having updates with training camp around then, practices, etc. I won't be having that because, again, I'll be in Jamaica. So just going to continue to give you guys that update beginning of every episode so you guys are aware when it happens. Oh, why isn't Ku dropping preseason stuff? You guys will know. I will be back, though, before the second preseason game, so I'll be sure to give you guys all kinds of stuff then. But anyways, let's get into today's episode and what I wanted to talk about. And that's the Donovan Mitchell trade that has happened that really shook the NBA community. It came out of nowhere. Woj just tweeted it out and was no breaking news or anything. Just tweeted like it was nothing serious like that. Yeah, man, it was a crazy trade. I did not think Cleveland was going to get Donovan Mitchell. I don't know if anyone really knew the Cavs were interested. I didn't see much about it at all, really. But yeah, they got Donovan Mitchell by giving up Lauri Markkanen, Colin Sexton, and a lot of picks. Does this move do anything or say anything or impact at all the Detroit Pistons in any way? Yes and no, I feel. No, in the perspective that they're still going to do the same thing that they were going to do this season. Obviously, it doesn't change they're not going to make any moves because of this trade. So they're going to have basically the same season they were going to have beforehand. Everything that they were planning on doing beforehand, they're still going to be ended up doing. That's not changing. However, I don't know if it changed. I guess I shouldn't say change, but I do think it kind of makes or puts some things in a broader light and kind of makes things highlighted a little bit more. And let me tell you guys where I'm going with this. First of all, Cleveland's within the Pistons division. The Pistons division is you're going to be going against Giannis, Chris Middleton, Holiday, Levine, DeMar, Vooch, Ball, possibly Patrick Williams if he pops off, and then also Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, and Jared Allen 12 times a year. That's at least this year it's going to be hell. Now, maybe obviously it gets better as the Pistons get better, but this year, that's a gauntlet like that. The Pistons in division record may not be very pretty at all. It's going to be rough. Those are some stacked teams. But what I feel like it really brings to light is the fact that I feel like a lot of Pistons fans, and not just Pistons fans, I feel like fans of any specific fan or a specific team, they don't watch as much NBA basketball. And I feel like this, since it's happening close within the Pistons division, I think Pistons fans will now see things a little bit more clearer, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is look at the kind of talent that Cleveland has now. They have a young core of legitimately 4 All-Stars. One budding superstar in Evan Mobley. You could possibly consider Donovan Mitchell a superstar. And depending how you feel about Darius Garland, you may think he's a top 30-ish player. And then you got Jared Allen, who's also an all-star. That's a young core that's insanely deep. We're not even talking about Isaac Okoro or some of their other picks. They still got a really, really good roster headed by at least 4 all-stars on their team at the very top. Then you got Milwaukee, who has Giannis, a superstar, 2 other all-stars. You got Chicago, who has 2 to 3 all-stars with a really good team around them. It could have possibly 3 to 4 all-stars in the future. Where I'm going here is that the Pistons I feel like the Pistons know this already. Like Troy Weaver already knows this. The team already knows this. But Pistons fans, I feel like really need to get on board with the fact that they need to accumulate more talent. They don't have it yet. They need to accumulate more talent on this team. They need to get Cade eventually. And I'm sure they're going to eventually do this maybe next offseason or offseason after that. But eventually make a move or eventually find a way to get Cade some talent that's on level with him. Because what is very clear across the entire NBA, but even more clear in the Central Division now, is that you can't have just one guy. Heck, most of the time you can't even have just two guys. You need 3 all-stars. And most of the time, you need at least 2 guys on the same level at the very top. And I've told you guys this before. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'll never say a player can't do something or someone can't do anything. I'm never going to say that. But I don't believe the Pistons have another guy on this team that has the ceiling of Cade Cunningham, that has a chance to become on the same level as Cade. I know a lot of people probably feel that way about Jaden Ivey. He has a chance. I'm not saying he doesn't have a chance, but if I had to make a prediction right now, I don't think he's going to be on Cade's level. I think he'll probably be at his best a step below. I think they really do need to make a push, whether that's, and in my opinion, I've said this before in the podcast, I think they've kind of sized this season up to do this by going for another season of developing. I don't want to use the word tanking because apparently tanking, when you say the word tanking, everyone loses their minds. But they're, I guess, they're restoring this season still. Like they're not necessarily going for wins. They're going to play all their young guys and let the chips fall where they may. And I think by doing that, you're going to end up being one of the bad teams in the league because you're probably not going to be very good with a bunch of 21-year-olds playing with only like 1 to 2 rotational players on playoff teams on your squad. So I think they're going to end up with another top pick. And I think that's their best chance of getting another superstar, another star, I should say, not superstar, another star with Cade. And then once you have that foundation, if some other guys end up rising the ranks, now you have a squad. But right now, I think the Pistons, within their young core, I think their young core is much, much improved, obviously, over the past 2 or 3 years. I love their young core. I think their young core is going to be really, really damn good in 2 to 3 years from now. But I do still think, I'm still of the belief that they're missing the guy that is going to be on the same level as Cade Cunningham. And I think it's become very clear. I think it was clear before this across the NBA, but again, now that the Central Division right next to the Pistons are all doing it, they're all just stacked. You need that guy on the team. And like I said, I don't think obviously that changes anything. I think the front office obviously already knew that, but I think for Pistons fans, again, not change it, but kind of just brought it to light even more like, man, this is probably not going to be our year this year. And when it is our time, we need a squad like these guys are putting together where they have 2 to 3, 4 guys out there that we need a guy who's going to be on the same level as Cade, who can be his sidekick. That's basically my only takeaway from this trade. It's not going to change anything. They're still going to go about this season the exact same way. They're still going to go about the season and probably end up with the top 5-ish lottery odds. Probably finish around, I think, 28 to 30 wins. And that was going to happen either way. But again, I think it just brings into light more that they need to get that guy on this team with Cade. And I don't think they have that right now. If they do, great. I'm not going to say any of these guys can't do it. But my prediction right now, I think they still need that. And I see a lot of those guys. And we're probably going to start talking about it soon. We're probably going to bring on some draft guys soon to talk about it, even a year in advance. But I see like 3 to 5 guys next year that if the Pistons could get one of them, they might have that. Along with these other guys, if they had one of those top 3 to 5 guys next year, possibly, along with this young core they have, I think the Pistons are really cooking for like the next 5 to 10 years. That's what I'm looking forward to. And that's really what this trade did for me. Is like, okay, these teams can have it now. They're going to have us now. We'll probably be bad this year. We'll get another top pick. But next year, when we get one of these top picks and we have this free agency along with these guys and Cade has another guy next to him, this team's going to be cooking for the next 5 to 10 years, and it's really going to be a battle in the Central Division, and the Pistons are going to be a part of it. That's what I thought of. So let me know what your guys' initial thoughts. Did you guys think of the Pistons at all when the Donovan Mitchell trade happened? I think a lot of people did. I know a lot of people were like, man, we have to go against these guys 4 times a year. This is going to suck at least this year. I know a lot of you guys probably felt that way, but just let me know what your guys' thoughts were after hearing about this trade. If it had anything to do with the Pistons, let me know down below in the comment section or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the Ricoh Hines run. I don't believe we've talked about it a lot since it happened, We're talking a little bit about it. I don't want to go too crazy about it. You guys will hear why when we come back. But first, you guys got to hear a little message real quick from the NHTSA. Are you one of those people who thinks it's okay to drive stoned? What's the worst thing that could possibly happen? You end up driving below the speed limit. It's no big deal, right? Wrong. The truth is, your reaction time's slow, way down when you're high behind the wheel. You not only put yourself in danger, but heck, maybe even more importantly, everyone around you. Talk about an absolute buzzkill. Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high ever. If you've been using marijuana in any form to get behind the wheel, do not do it. Don't ever get behind the wheel if you've been using marijuana in any form. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high and get a DUI. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support the podcast. Or if you're listening on whatever podcast platform, leave us a 5-star review, wherever platform that is. That's another great way to support the podcast, man. Just real quickly, actually, before we get into the Ricoh Hines run, I just want to make sure I'm very clear about what we were talking about in the first segment. I want to make this very clear because people twist my words in the comments. I start getting some DMs from you guys. I start getting some messages. I'm not saying that none of these guys on this team can't do it. When I say can't do it, I mean can't be on the same level as Cade. I just don't know if I can make that assessment right now and predict that. And I do think there's some top level prospects at the top of next year's draft. And I think if the Pistons are able to grab one of them, I think the Pistons are cooking for the next 5 to 10 years. I think that's what they're missing. I think they're missing that nether piece with Cade. I think in the NBA now, that's what you need. You need at least 2 guys that are up there like in the top 20 NBA players in the league if you're going to win a championship, which again is the end goal. I'm not looking forward to playoff games, first round appearance, win a playoff game in here and there. No, I'm looking forward to winning championships with Cade. And in my opinion, the best way to go about doing that is to get him another guy on his level. And I see some at the top of next year's draft. I really think the Pistons should be developing and also looking forward at that as well as a possible way to help this team out, get to the championship level. But anyways, I just want to make that very clear. I don't want people to feel like I'm saying Jaden Ivey can't do it or Jalen Duren can't do it. Heck, even Sadiq can't do it. I just don't think it's going to happen. But I will admit that there is a chance, obviously. I don't see it happening, though. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they all can be really damn good players, just not superstar level. I don't think that's in their future. Anyways, let's talk about some of the Ricoh Hines run a little bit real quick. So, obviously, we were all waiting for the Ricoh Hines run footage. For a long time, it was told that they were down in Ricoh Hines, like I forget how many weeks ago. It might have been 2-3 weeks ago. And everyone's just been waiting and waiting and waiting. And for a while there, a lot of people just felt like it didn't even exist. But we finally got it. It was a little bit disappointing, if you want to be honest. The initial footage from Ricoh Hines' YouTube channel, it was a little disappointing. And not even because the Pistons weren't doing good or the Piston players weren't doing good. But in that footage, you didn't even get any Pistons, really. You got maybe 5 highlights of the Pistons. Majority of them was just the Raptors. And then Steph Curry. They didn't show us any Pistons highlights. So that was just oh, well, that was a waste of our time. What, we didn't even get nothing. But then Ball's Life YouTube channel posted something. And you guys should go check it out if you haven't already. I'm sure you guys are fiending for some Pistons basketball of some sort, anything. Go check it out. But in that one, they did show a lot more Pistons stuff. So the initial question obviously is, how much do you take away from this? Do I read anything into it? Should you read anything into it? My very overwhelming answer is no. You should not take a lot from this at all. It's pickup runs. It's off-season highlights. You can make anybody look good or bad with highlights. And especially Pistons fans, we spent years seeing highlights and off-season pickup games where Andre Drummond was out here hitting step-back threes on guys and, dominating pickup runs and never was able to do it in the offseason. People got to understand that these guys in the NBA, you put them in a pickup run, they're completely different people when they're in a structured NBA setting. It's completely different. Throw them on a pickup run, almost any NBA players are going to look like a god. It's just going to happen. It is what it is. It's different. So that's my overwhelming answer. No, you shouldn't take too much from it. Really anything at all. But we're going to do that anyways here because, one, content. And second, I guess you can take a little bit of things, just nothing too big. And I have two big. I just said nothing too big. I was about to say two big takeaways. I have two main takeaways, I should say. First one concerns Isaiah Stewart. And I'm gonna keep it a stack with y'all. Listen, a lot of you guys have tried to pigeonhole me into this Isaiah Stewart hater. I don't believe in Isaiah Stewart. I don't want Isaiah Stewart to succeed. And that's just not true. I'm just not as optimistic as a lot of people are about his outside shooting. I haven't been. I've been very consistent about that. However, I'd be sitting here looking into the camera or talking into the mic if you listen to this on the podcast or any podcast platforms. I'd be sitting here lying if I said that the clips we've seen this offseason haven't tried their damnness to change my mind at least a little bit or make me a little bit more excited. I know Isaiah Stewart has said, I believe he said on another podcast that he doesn't think his jump shots change at all. I call BS on that. I guess maybe change isn't the word, but he very much, at the very least, has sped it up and made it more fluid, 100%. So I guess maybe not change, because change would make it sound like that, like you had some fundamental changes to the whole shot, like the base, the form, like all that stuff. I guess I can see that, but it's 100% more fluid. It's 100% more sped up, and I feel like that hitch is basically out of there. He has like a two motion. He has a two motion jump shot, but there was like a bad hitch in it last year. I don't see that in the offseason clips. That's one. In the Ricoh Hines footage, and again, you can make anyone look good to the highlights, so maybe he didn't go 4 or 5. Maybe he actually went 4 or 12, but he only saw the 5 shots. But in the videos we saw, he went 4 or 5. And more so than him just making it, obviously him making 4 out of 5 was really nice to see. The fact that he's shooting it so like confidently and like shooting it without hesitation, that does. I'd be sitting here lying if it said it didn't make me feel a little bit better about it. Now, again, like I said, these are pickup runs. I'm trying not to read too much into it because you shouldn't. But he's shooting them more confidently. The form looks a lot better. It looks sped up. It looks fluid. He looks confident shooting it. He's making them in the offseason so far. In these pickup runs we're seeing, he was making them at a decent rate in the summer league. It looked good in summer league. Another space that you don't want to take too much from. But it was looking good there too. So, again, Isaiah Stewart is trying his hardest with all these offseason clips to try to take away my insistence on looking on the sample size in the NBA. He's trying to get me excited. I'm not going to let him do it. I've been fooled before. I know offseason stuff you should not take too serious. I know that for a fact. I feel like everyone knows that deep down that you shouldn't take offseason stuff, anything you see really too serious. But like I said, I'd be sitting here lying if I'd say it didn't give me any more optimism seeing this the way it's worked out for him this offseason. It does give me a little bit more optimism because of simply how confident he's been, how much better his shot looks. So I'm interested. Obviously, everyone's interested to see how it goes this season for him. I'm interested in it. And I do feel a little bit better. Not a ton. Like I said, I'm not going to let offseason get me. I'm a rational person. I'm a person who, I'm a very level-headed person. I'm not going to let myself get duped or get too high or too low. But I'd be lying if I said I'm not a little bit more optimistic. I am. I'm a little bit more optimistic. I'm starting to feel a little bit better about Isaiah Stewart maybe being able to shoot pretty decent from 3 this season. So that's the first thing. Second thing, and I talked about this with Bryce Simon, host of the Pistons Pulse podcast. Obviously, you guys all know who Bryce is. He's been on the podcast probably like 1,000 times. I was talking with him about this, and me and him both kind of had this same takeaway too. Kind of shocking. I thought I'd be the only one who kind of had this takeaway. It's Jay and Ivy. And it's not a great takeaway. It's also not a terrible takeaway, but it kind of just confirms some of the things I already felt about him and some of the things that was already being said about him heading into the NBA, into the draft, into, the draft combine, all that stuff after his season in college, is that he looked obviously a lot better in fast breaks. He looked a lot better when they played fast. He looked a lot better when they were in transition in these pickup runs. He looked really good in those scenarios. But then I'm telling you guys this right now, the first highlight, or the first clip, I should say, that had me go, raise my eyebrows, was he got in the in-between area, and I can't tell if he was throwing a floater up or if you're throwing a lob up, but it hit the top of the backboard. And again, I'm not reading too much into that possession. It's one possession. I'm not reading too much into anything. Again, I'm not taking a big takeaway, good or bad. But if I had to take like a tiny one away, it kind of just like confirms some of the things that he didn't look as good in the in-between area in the half court. And I've told you guys before, from what you saw in the summer league even, and him in college and some of his struggles in college and what they said that he's going to have to work on. He's going to look good in fast break. He's going to look really good in transition. It's going to happen. I think he's going to struggle a little bit in the half court. I think he's going to struggle in between area, not just scoring for himself, but simply making the right play, being able to make the right pass, the right read, knowing what to do in those situations. I think he's going to struggle with that in his rookie season. I think that's the part he has to improve upon to get to stardom. If he's going to get to stardom, he has to improve in that area. I think that's obviously his biggest weakness. And basically that all those that pickup run did was just like confirm that stuff for me a little bit. I didn't see nothing I wasn't expecting not to see, basically, is what I should say. Everything I saw from Jaden Ivey was basically what I was assuming I would see. He did hit a few. I know he had a step back. He had a step back like left wing three. That was nice to see. He made another like off the backboard three. I know he made a few in summer league too. Like I don't know I refuse to believe he's actually calling bank on these. I don't. But he's making a lot of these like off the bank threes. I don't know what's up with that. I couldn't make threes off the backboard, even if I tried calling them. I don't know how people do that. I refuse to believe he's even doing that. I don't know what's up with that. But he did hit a few threes. That's nice to see. But everything I saw from Jaden Ivey in that pickup run footage, it was basically what I was assuming to see. Everything else I don't really care about. Like I said, really, in totality, I don't think a lot of us should care anything really about these pickup runs at all. It's just because we're all fiending for Piston basketball so badly right now. And we're so close that we're just like, we can taste it. So anything you give us, we're just like, give me more, give me more, give me more. Like, I get it. But really, guys, don't take really anything away from these pickup runs, man. It's just pick up basketball in the offseason. It's not serious. It's not legit kind of stuff, man. Don't get too high, too low on anything. Just enjoy the content. Enjoy the video. The fact that you get to watch some kind of basketball. Just have fun with it. Don't take too much away from it. That's my advice. But if I had to take anything away from it, those would be like the two things. All I can take away. That's basically it. Also, Steph Curry's freaking crazy. Like, he was out there dominating. He's nuts, man. He's nuts. I don't know how Steph, MPJ, and Trae Young got on the same team in the pickup run. Like, if you saw that pickup team, even in 2K, like, you're sitting there saying, like, how the hell are we going to score with these guys? That's like some of the scariest shooting that, like, you could possibly put together in the NBA. That's insane. But anyways, that's basically all I got on the Ricoh Hines run, man. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kooka Hill. When we come back, I want to look ahead a little bit into preseason. We're obviously going to get into this a little bit more as preseason comes closer. We'll probably have like a full episode I'll schedule out like right before preseason while I'm in Jamaica, talking about what am I looking forward to in preseason. I'll talk a little bit about it in this last segment real quick, just touch on it a little bit. But first, you guys got to hear from some of our sponsors. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. And if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to support the podcast, or even listeners on one of the podcast platforms, whatever platform that is. Leave us a 5-star review. That's another great way to support the podcast. I would really appreciate either of those things you do for us. We are on the way to 5,000 subscribers, though. We're trying to get there before the start of the regular season. I don't know if we're going to get there, but that's the goal. Let's try to get there if we can. What am I looking forward to in preseason? Just a quick takeaways, or not even takeaways because it hasn't happened yet, but quick previews. Like I said, we're going to get into a deeper preview with it later in the month. But I just want to talk a little bit, because I know a lot of us are just talking about expectations for this upcoming season, what we want to see from guys. So, heck, I thought, you know what, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about preseason, man. And one of the main things I'm looking forward to seeing, and you guys already know this, I just want to see Killian in the preseason. That's one, just for me. I know my number one won't be the same for most of you guys, but for my number one, I want to see Killian get the ball in his hands a lot in the preseason games. I want to see him put the ball, or the Pistons put the ball in his hands a lot and let him do a lot of work on ball. Now, when the regular season starts, you can play it differently if you don't think it's working. But in the preseason, at least, I hope they put the ball in his hands a lot, and I hope they tell him to go shoot. Go shoot the basketball. Go try to score. We've talked about it a lot, what he did in like the last month and a half of the season, last 2 months of the season after coming off the bench. His shots per game started going way up. I just hope he continues that and we see some progression in that area. I just want to see him shoot the damn basketball. That's my number one thing in the preseason. That's quick preview number one that I have. Number two, I'm really interested. And actually, this should be number one. I take that back. What I said about Killian's not number one, that you can bump that down. What I really want to see in preseason are these training camp battles, these regular season battles, really, that people are fighting for minutes. I want to see how Diallo plays. I want to see how Knox plays. Because I'm actually quite interested in Kevin Knox. I know people are going to say it's because of the Ricoh Hines footage. He did go crazy in that footage. He was going nuts in that pickup session. But even before, I know we've talked about it, and you guys remember months ago or last month, whenever they made the sign, I said this, that if he can hit outside shots, because his archetype is an outside shooter. Like, he's a wing who can hit outside shots. That's supposed to be his archetype. So far in his NBA season, NBA career, he just hasn't really been that. Like, the idea of Kevin Knox is better than actual Kevin Knox. So if he can be that archetype, if he actually hit close to 40% of his threes, I said it last month, he will have to play if he can actually hit 40% of his threes, close to it, because the team lacks shooting so badly. If he can do that, he has to play minutes. And if he plays, that comes at the cost of Hamidou Diallo and one of the vets, the big guys position. I'm still hoping that they get rid of one of the big guys, the big man positions that are vets, or just don't play them. That's what my hope would be. But that's what I'm really interested to see. I'm low-key really excited to see Kevin Knox in preseason. I'm really going to see if he takes advantage of this, if he actually has become a much better shooter, if he's actually going to be that archetype. I know he's had his whole career is really a small sample size. But throughout that small sample size, he's had some really high highs when it comes to outside shooting. He's had some really low lows when it comes to outside shooting. Like, he's went up, down, season to season. Like, one season, he was one of the best corner three-point shooters in the entire NBA. Next one, he can't shoot for nothing. Next season, he's a decent three-point shooter. And then another stretch, he's been very up and down. So if he can actually hit outside shots, I think he'll beat Diallo out in preseason because they need shooting so badly. If he can't, I think Diallo takes his spot. I want to see what Diallo looks like in preseason. Has he improved on anything? Is his IQ a little bit better on the defensive side? Is he a little bit smarter with what he wants to do offensively? Do they draw stuff up for him off ball to take advantage of his athleticism? Are they getting him a little bit more creative with him off ball? That's the main training camp battle I want to see. I want to see Hamidou Diallo versus Kevin Knox, obviously through training camp, but then in the preseason. That's actually what I'm most interested in. I think that's going to be a hell of a thing to watch because both those guys are really interesting pieces and interesting players. I can see how both of them can help the team next year if they do certain things. That's what, honestly, I'm looking forward to most in preseason. Obviously, some of the other things is just Isaiah Stewart, three-point shooting, etc. Like I said, Killian Hayes, see if he has the ball in his hands a little bit more. But really, nothing else, man, in preseason. I think preseason more than I don't want to say more than the NFL, actually. I was going to say more than any other sport. But NBA preseason, I feel like mostly is always about, and really cool, is that you get to see like the borderline guys play a lot more. You get to see like the guys fighting for rotation spots. Are they going to crack the rotation? How are these guys playing? See these battles play out. I think that's the best part about the preseason. That's what you're going to get this year. So that Hamidou Diallo versus Kevin Knox battle, and it could end up to where both of those guys don't end up getting minutes in the rotation anyway, because they might just play Kelly Olynyk. But if they go with Isaiah Livers, let's say the backup four, and they need a backup three between one of those two guys, I think that's going to be really fun to watch. So I want to talk about that a little bit because I know everyone was freaking out a little bit about Kevin Knox's footage in the Ricoh Hines pickup run because he was going crazy. He looked like prime KD in that pickup run. So I'm not being swayed by that pickup run. My stance on him has been the same over the past month, ever since the Pistons signed him. If he can hit outside shots at a near 40% clip, he has to play. So let's see if he can do it in the preseason. Obviously, rooting for him and Diallo, rooting for whatever's best for the team. So if Knox is able to do that, it'll be interesting, man. It'd be really interesting. But that's all I've got for you guys today, man. Again, I'm going to continue to remind you guys, I don't want you guys to be shocked. Beginning of next month, October, at the end of this month too, I will be gone in Jamaica for my wedding and my honeymoon. I will be missing the first preseason game. We'll be having a scheduled ahead podcast that maybe will not line up with what you guys are expecting to hear because I can't update you guys on preseason training camp stuff while I'm in Jamaica. Just can't do it. The wife would kill me. She would literally. I mentioned by the way, for any of you guys still listen, I mentioned at all like I brought up like, oh yeah, the Pistons have a preseason game down there, and before I could even get to the point of being like, yeah, I'm gonna watch it, it was like, don't you dare, don't you dare, and yeah, that's just gonna be one that I'm gonna take the L on that one. Like I'm not gonna fight about that one. It's not gonna happen. I'm gonna go down there and enjoy my honeymoon. I'm gonna miss that preseason game. Sorry guys, can't be there for you guys there. I can't. This one I can't be there for you guys. I gotta be there for the wifey. You feel me? But I hope I'm sure you guys are gonna understand. I'm sure you guys are gonna enjoy the episode that I have planned ahead at that point too. So, anyways, that's all I've got for you guys today, man. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel, Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. Leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Peace out, everybody. Stay safe and go Pistons.